Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theravada Buddhism series, Dhamma talk number 11. The topic is 13 questions to the Buddha. This was taking place when Buddha was alive. One day the Buddha was in the kingdom of Alavi. And he came across or near to a big banyan tree. In the scripture it said that's the residence of a Yakha Alavaka. Yakha means like big giant, powerful, short-tempered, conceited being. Alavaka is his name. Probably it's stated that way because this is the Yakha from the kingdom of Alavi. So he is called Yakha Alavaka. Even though they say this banyan tree was the residence of this Yakha, actually he didn't live in that tree. Let's say it is more like a gateway to his residence, but that's let's call it a mailing address for us who can see the banyan tree. At that time, this Alavaka was at the Mount Himalaya attending a Yakha conference. That shows that these beings, these Ram, they still have the structures, just like we do in our human Ram. Conference to attend, likes and dislikes, my territory, your territory, and so on. But anyway, the retinues, like his wives and attendants, when they saw Buddha, they wanted to pay homage to him, so they invited him in to the residence. They were paying homage. During that time, Alavaka came back from the conference and saw Buddha at his residence. He was really angry, and he tried with all his power and might and whatever the power that Yakha possessed to throw the Buddha out of his residence. But he didn't succeed. He couldn't do anything. So he thought about something. This Yakha has 13 questions handed down by his ancestors. Now the questions remain. The answer were lost for so long. Because these 13 questions were asked to the Buddha, one Buddha before the Buddha Gautama, by his ancestor, probably great-great-great-grandfather. And they got the answers and they handed down through generation after generations. Between one Buddha and the next Buddha, there's a long, big gap. So during that time, the answers were lost. But this Alavaka, he used these 13 questions whenever a holy-looking person, holy person, or a wise person passed by his residence. He will stop them and ask them to torture them, to make a mockery out of it. Nobody could answer. So he decided, I will ask these 13 questions and torture this Buddha. He was quite convinced that Buddha won't be able to answer it. So, these 13 questions are asked by his great-great-great-grandparents to the Buddha Kassapa, who was preceding Buddha from the Buddha Gautama. And the questions are as follows. What in the world is the most valuable treasure or object? The Buddha answered simply, verifiable faith. That was the answer. So this faith, this saddha, it cannot be destroyed by flood, fire, government and kings, or thieves and robbers, or people who hate you. These are the 5 great enemies of man. Flood, fire, government, thieves, and people who hate you. They can't be destroyed by these 5 enemies. Due to saddha, one approaches the wise and listen to what they teach, the Dharma. And saddha is the seed of generosity, morality, concentration, and mental development. All these things starts with saddha. Saddha is believing and having an interest in doing wholesome things. That saddha is the most precious, most valuable treasure in the world. Second question, what kind of practice brings one happiness? The Buddha answer was simple, Dhamma practice. And when we say Dhamma, it is far and wide range. So let's narrow it down, most suitable for this question. Dhamma is avoiding 10 unwholesome actions that produce suffering. 10 unwholesome actions that produce suffering. Okay, just to make a quick statement about it, it's refraining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, 3 physical. Lying, slander, rude and frivolous talks, full bubble actions, covetousness, ill will, and wrong view, 3 mental unwholesome actions. Those are the 10 unwholesome actions, and if you engage with them, suffering follows. Suffering is produced. They are the key to produce suffering. But engaging in 10 wholesome actions, okay? Engaging in 10 wholesome actions will produce happiness. But think about it, just by reframing 10 unwholesome actions, you don't produce any suffering. So there's a peace in the environment. And even within yourself, you don't want, and you don't have to be guilty. You don't have to look around your back, who is following me and chasing me. That already gives you great peace. But there's another 10 more that can actually produce happiness. Basically, it is the reverse of the 10 unwholesome actions. Protecting others from hurt and harm, giving and sharing, telling truth, harmonious and polite and beautiful speeches, developing loving kindness, compassion, and having a correct view. Those will bring happiness to one who practice these 10 wholesome actions. That's number 2. The third question is, what is the sweetest of all tastes? The Buddha answer was truth. Sacca, S-A-C-C-A, truth. The touch of truth on one's tongue is the sweetest and the best of all tastes, because the truth come out of your mouth, the lies come out of your mouth. Truth can penetrate all walls and barriers, and it can dispel darkness. The fourth question is, how would one live the best life? It is living with the knowledge, or living with the wisdom, knowledge or wisdom, that is always based or associated with cause and effect, causal relationship. This is the cause, this is the effect. If you do this, this is the consequences. If you do that, that is the result. Meaning that you are fully aware of your actions before you do it, based on cause and effect, based on what you're going to do and what kind of result will produce suffering or happiness. By knowing ahead before your actions, there's consequences. One will choose always the correct one, and that is the best life a person can live with. Number 5, with what would one cross the floodplain? The Buddha answer was Saddha, faith. Faith and confidence. Buddhist faith is a faith that can be verified by oneself later with practice and experience. To overcome the floodplain, what is this floodplain? The floodplain of sense desire, karma guna. We live, everybody, every one of us live with sense desire, great desire for good form, good sound, good smell, good taste, good touch, good everything that you can experience with your 5 senses. That 5 senses is referred here as a floodplain, a hidden meaning question. To overcome the floodplain of sense desire, one must cross with faith, saddha. And here, faith in what? Faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, the 3 jewels. And also faith in karma, cause and effect. If you have these things, you can cross the floodplain of sense desire. Number 6, with what would one cross the sea, large body of water, the sea or the ocean? The answer was simple. Heedfulness. Appamada. Heedfulness. By being not forgetful, or you can say by being mindful of all that one see, one hear, one smell, one taste, touch and imagine. Being heedful of all these things. In other words, that's the every moment of your life. One can cross the ocean, and here the ocean means sansara, rounds of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, sansara. You can cross the ocean of sansara, birth and death, by being heedful at every moment, engaging with any senses, the 6 senses. Question number 7. How would you, or how would one, overcome the stress and suffering of life? How would one overcome the stress and suffering of life? We all know in our lives there's always difficulty, small one, medium one, big one. And whenever we have difficulty, we got stressed out, we got burned out, we suffer. That's a part of our life. We always have problems to solve, situation to handle. That is stress, that is suffering. Buddha's answer was diligence and perseverance. First of all, when these things comes in, you have to persevere. You have to be able to stand and then diligence, put a lot of great effort. Diligence and perseverance, one overcome the difficulties and suffering of life. Number 8, how would one purify oneself? By washing the mind with understanding, with the wisdom. Our mind is always polluted with lobha, dosa and moha. And you have to wash these away with wisdom. Or simple word, understanding of things. One a little more specific, knowing or understanding what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. Sounds simple, but not that. There are a lot of tricky little spots. And also understanding what is suitable and appropriate in terms of time, place, a person. You must have an acute awareness of it. And always discerning right from wrong. It's a different version of wholesome and unwholesome, right from wrong, good and bad. That is how one can purify oneself. If you know this thing, you will have no faults. You can't be blamed. That means you are purified. Number 9, how would one attain wisdom? By having chanda. Chanda is wanting, wishing. By having chanda, or desire to know, by having desire to listen, and by having desire to understand the arhata dhamma. In other words, arhata mega and arhata phala. Arahant path and arahant fruition. That brings liberation. That brings nibbana. But to have all these things, you must have the chanda. Okay, very specifically, it is Dhamma chanda. Dhamma chanda. Desire or wish to know the Dhamma. That's number 9. Number 10. How could one achieve mundane wealth? So this shows that these questions cover the whole spectrum, from the little safety and wealth, richness, best life, to up to Nibbana, a whole spectrum. How could one achieve mundane wealth? The wealth we know, houses and cars and families and monies and jewels and golds and so on. The answer was by choosing the right method in one's livelihood. We all have a livelihood. If you don't have it, one must choose a right livelihood. Not only choosing a right livelihood, you must know what is the most efficient method to do that job, that livelihood. Right method. Not just only choosing. Once you got there, you are not the only one, there are many. You must be the initiator. You must be the initiator means forerunner. You're ahead of the pack. That kind of a spirit. You must keep yourself there, initiate. And also persevere. Because once you go on there, nothing is really going smoothly as one wish or expect. There are little bumps, road bumps. Those times one must be able to persevere. And most of all, you must be resolute. Resolute means nothing could change your focus and attention and the direction. And you must do all these things with great effort. If you have all these things, all the ducks in a row, you will gain great wealth in your life. Number 11, how would one establish a good name or fame? It is just by having sincerity and truthfulness. If you are sincere in everything you do, and if you always deal with truth, your name will rise, your fame will spread. In a different take, we can say, if you deliver every promise you make, you'll be famous. You'll be well known. Oh, this guy, if he say it, you can count on his words. He delivers. That's truth. That's sincerity. That's how one can gain or establish good name and fame. 12. How would one gain many friends? These are all in this life. Gaining fame, wealth, friends, attendance. How would one gain many friends? Simple. By giving and sharing. Don't you like anybody who gives you gifts? Not only gifts, don't you like anybody who gives you attention? That attention is also a gift. Generosity. Time and a focus upon you. That is generosity, generous act of that person. You like those things. The same thing if you do for others. If you're generous to others, if you're giving, and if you're sharing, and if you give attention, those people will love you. And the last one, question number 13. How would one have happiness in the next life? See, these 13 questions cover every aspect. Right in this life, everything we need and want. Right in the next life, and also the end of the journey, the end of samsara. It covers the whole spectrum in a very short, precise 13 questions. So, how would one have happiness in the next life? By living with truth. Truth is a very important factor in Buddhism. Sissa, truth. By living with truth, by living with self-restraint, you're not jumping and hopping on any pleasure that comes along. Restraint. forbearance, having wise attention, yoniso-manasikara, in all endeavors, and doing a lot of acts of charity. If you do these things, in short is dana, sila, bhavana, you will have a very happy next life. Your next life will be existent, will be good and happy one. And after Buddha answered these 13 questions, Alavaka is a very smart fellow. He has an absolute belief of faith in the Buddha. And he said, wherever I go, not only staying in the place, I will live with the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. In his heart, in his mind, I will talk about the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. I will spread the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. That's what he said. Because before that the Buddha said, now you go and ask anybody, whoever you want, the answer to these questions. And if anybody can answer better than this, let me know. And then Alavaka said, no, I have met the enlightened Buddha. He had given me the answer. I don't need to ask anybody. And he said, wherever I go, I will spread the words of Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. In other words, Alavaka became Sotapanna, the stream winner, the first noble person. That rough, angry, scary giant become the tame, polite and noble giant. So that is in Alavaka Sutta. We just improvise into our little modern day tones and words. May all of you be able to practice the Buddha Dharma for the goodness of this life, for the goodness of next life, and for the goodness of passing and crossing over the ocean of samsara and attain Nibbana as soon as possible. Sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.